Yo, 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 welcome to the fifth episode of Checking In with Brando. Today I got a special guest, a guy I always looked up to, the guy who's always been the blueprint for me in a way. My guy, Chicago Josh, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good, Cuzzo. I appreciate you having me on the show, man. I've been admiring from a distance all the work that you've been putting in. So I was honored when you asked me to make an appearance and come on your show today. So thank you.
No problem at all, man. I saw what you was doing. I was like, man, I gotta get him on. Seeing like the stuff that you posting, like from the stocks to like just being in other countries, because a lot of people don't get to see things like that.
Yeah, man. It's been truly a blessing for me. When I first got my first passport. Well, I first got my passport back in 2017. And I've been to 12 different countries ever since. And anybody I cross paths with, I try to be super adamant about them going out, seeing other countries, seeing the world, and gaining some global perspective versus just the things that we might see every day in the Chicagoland area or your respective major city that you might live in.
Man, that's amazing. What inspires you like to say that, man? Like I've been around the United States, but I'm gonna go out the country now.
Um, I think it was really always on my foresights. I was always curious about other cultures. I wanted to know, how other people lived. I wanted to know why people live that way, versus just kind of taking the stock answer that you might see from afar, and not really having, any major insights for yourself. The uh, the funny thing is, I was actually scared out of my mind to try to go and get my passport and actually take that leap to
Mm.
uh, to go across the border. But my former girlfriend, we started talking right before she took an internship to Belize,
Mm.
and she invited me to join her in her last weeks of her internship out in Belize, and our very first date was on Belize soil. So
Wow,
yeah, man, that started the chain of events.
man, that first moment when you landed, when you was out of the country, like how did that feel?
I mean, for me, it was really surreal. I mean, Belize is a third world country, so they don't necessarily have all of the major, skyscrapers, and they don't. I mean, they don't even have developed roads in certain parts of Belize. So, to be able to go out there and see, the things that people appreciate in third world countries versus the things that people appreciate back here in the States, like the Gucci's and the Louis and the new Jordans and the diamonds and the watches. It's very, very 180 when you're talking about going to other countries. For them, luxury might, being able to eat steak tonight, or being able to not have to work tonight. Like that might be the luxury. So it really gave me some much needed perspective that, as a US citizen growing up, I just didn't have, because I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So again, I was truly grateful for that experience. And it's definitely kind of catapulted me into actively going out and looking for new countries to travel to.
Man, that's amazing. Is there like any things you've learned about yourself while you've been traveling?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think the major thing that I learned about myself um, is to kind of be humble,
Mm.
because again, I mean, growing up, in and around the Chicagoland area, you kind of have a chip on your shoulder that you gotta have all these great things, and you gotta prove all these points to all these different people.
Mm.
Uh, just because when you step outside the city, you want to represent and say, "Hey, I'm from Chicago. This is how we get down." Um, and for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want all those things, and people still get that PSA that I'm from the shot.
Yeah.
Um, but I think I go about things a little bit differently now, because again, just harping back on my point, my perspective is no longer just local; it's more of a global situation.
Man, that's amazing, man. So what got you into stocks, man? I've been seeing you've been doing your thing with that.
Yeah. So um, kind of at the height of the pandemic back in May of last year, um, I took a passive interest into, the stock market, into trading stocks. And, one of my really close friends from high school and college, he also had that passive interest. And we ended up taking a course together that really just kind of catapulted me into, my current level of, financial literacy relative to stocks. And, after I had a really, really great summer financially, I just kind of told myself that, I never want to cross paths with another minority without telling them, the key pillars of getting started in the stock market to be able to add that passive income to your family's bottom line.
Man, that's amazing because like a lot of people that I know, especially like that grew up like in the city of Chicago and like poverty-stricken environments, they really don't know much about the stock market, you know. So it's great to see that you're involved and that you also informing others, you know, because a lot of people just don't know.
Yeah, yeah, man. I think I kind of took it as like an assignment because, it wasn't, me making money by myself. Like, okay, that's great, that's cool, but I realized the impact of what it could attribute to the minority community. Because I've never been one to live in a victimized mentality, where you're in this space of oh me, oh my, and you might hear the running joke. I mean, some people are joking, some aren't. Where people believe that Black people definitely deserve reparations for kind of what we endured back in the day. But for me, I've always been one that if I want something, I'm gonna go get it for myself. Like I'm not gonna sit back and wait for you to write me a check. I'm gonna go and create my check, and then we could talk about what you want to talk about later. Because when you can take the power into your own hands, you don't have to sit back and wait on anybody. And for me, when I started teaching people about stocks, at first it was just like me telling the guys, telling the homies, like, yo, like this is an extra way that you can, make some money, whether it's passively, whether it's something that you can store away for the future. These are your different options. But then it started to evolve into other conversations. As the pandemic hit, many people lost their jobs. I had, close friends who were business owners who's, worked in the nightlife industry and their clubs were completely shut down.
Ooh.
So, when your livelihood is predicated on having tons and tons of people in one centralized space, that doesn't really work well in a pandemic economy. So,
Yeah.
To be able to help some of my friends, stay afloat, support their families off of the things I was able to teach them as far as making money in the stock market, that was gratifying for me to be able to, one of my aunts, she reached out to me and, she was saying like, hey nephew, I see you're doing really great in the stock market. I want to have a conversation with you about how I can become more proficient and grow my money, because even though, I am now at the age of retirement, I don't necessarily have retirement money. So, you spend your life, 25 years, 30 years down the line, and now all of a sudden you realize you don't want to be working until you're 80, you don't want to be working until you're 90. So that light switch has to go off in somewhere in some capacity. So again, the dialogue started with me and it was cool, to learn how to make money for myself. But I realized very, very soon on that it was much bigger than me.
Man, that's amazing. And I like when you said you don't like things to be given to you, like having to work for it. And I feel like when somebody has to work for something, like they appreciate it even more, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of like the old adage goes, it's if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. So rather that's
Mm, I
so
like
that's
that. I like that one. Yeah.
yeah, man. So rather it's something educational based, rather it's something financial based. Like nobody is gonna put as much attention into getting a free ride. So I just want to make sure that I paid my dues here and I set the correct expectations for anybody that decides to walk this path of, hey, You can make a lot of money in a short amount of time. You can make a lot of money over the course of a long time, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to pay your dues, just like the rest of us. So
Yeah. What where did you get the mindset of knowing like having to put in that work, put in the time, put in that grind?
um I think my first level of exposure to kind of true businessmen and businesswomen, when I was, I want to say 19 or 20 years old, one of my friends tried to recruit me into a network marketing company. And, I figured typically, over the course of your life, somebody has called you and said, hey, you trying to get this money, or you trying to make millions of
Yeah.
dollars, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
You end up in a meeting in a hotel, blase, blase. I mean, for some people it works. I've got friends who have made $1 million in direct sales. For me, I end up getting $1 million worth of game from being in direct sales, and attributing that to different spaces of my career. So I had all these mentors at a very young age who, taught me the aspects of personal development, and how working on yourself and working on your mind will continue to pay dividends over the course of your lifetime, and how living in the space of disciplined life will continue to pay dividends over the course of your lifetime, versus just kind of waking up and just letting the day come to you. So I think that early on education that I received from non-traditional teachers, people who weren't collegiate professors, that
Right.
really gave me the mindset that sticks with me today when I decide to wake up and go get it.
Man, that's amazing to hear you talk about that. 'Cause I know, like for me personally, I really didn't like hard work. Like I like playing sports. Like you go to practice, then you get to training, and you get to working out doing this and that. Like at first, like I've never really thought about. I was like, oh, just doing this for football. But then as I got older, I realized, oh, this can like transition to like other aspects of my life. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
something big for me.
yeah, man. Between 6 a.m. workouts, between
Hmm.
getting put on the line and run sprints, like those little things that we hate, piece by piece, situation by situation, they end up following us, later in life. And it's something that we can pull from when we end up in a situation. So, rather you in between the lines, or, rather you're in the boardroom, either way, the things that you learn early on are definitely going to be the foundation of how you move and how you flow as you grow into adulthood.
Man, that's true. Man, another question I have, like, what mindset do you take away from getting through last year, 2020?
Um, I think the biggest takeaways from 2020 was that everything is negotiable. Um,
Mm,
because when you saw the pandemic begin to strip different things out of society, whether that be jobs, whether that be the work environment. I mean, I'm in the corporate space right now, and I work remote. Since my company's remote, I'm currently working out of Medellin, Colombia.
ooh,
Whereas, so all of 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, I was confined to working in an office. Now to be able to work anywhere that has Wi-Fi, like it lets me know everything was negotiable, and it was always negotiable. It was just a matter of the pandemic had to come about for people to start to being able to explore their options. Um, I guess another thing 2020 taught me was to always bet on yourself.
I like that.
Because between friends who lost their jobs, family who lost their jobs, people who ended up in very compromised situations. Again, when you're sitting there waiting on a handout, when you're waiting for the government to decide or not to decide to cut the stimulus check, like you can't just be twiddling your thumbs, because them lights got to stay on, that fridge got to get filled with food, depending on your obligations. So yeah, man, it just taught me that always bet on yourself, and B, you definitely need multiple streams of income, because at any given moment, someone can wake up, decide that they've got to do what's in their best interest. And if you're not in their best interest, then they could decide to cut you and move on about their business.
Man, man, that's a lot to unpack right there. And it's like when you said people can like cut you off for their best interest, it kind of sometimes get me thinking about how, at least like in America, the United States is like good and bad is often determined by like somebody else's like their agenda. You know, it's not necessarily about like what's going to happen to the other person. It's just like, all right, what's the best outcome for me? You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's about to say.
God bless the child who has his own, right?
Ooh, say that one more time. Let people hear that again.
I said, God bless the child who has his own, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's very true. And it's like when you said bet on yourself, I really agree with that because I feel like it's a lot easier to just be, I'm just gonna wait until somebody do this and that. I'm gonna wait for somebody to save me. But it's like in life, nobody's gonna save you. You gotta be your own hero, you know?
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. I know, I know way too many people who were sitting on their thumbs, trying to see if the president was gonna cut the check. They're like, oh, we've been waiting on this stimmy, we've been waiting on this stimmy. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I'd rather stimulate myself. I'd rather go and get my own
Ooh,
check, man. I'm not waiting on nobody.
yeah. That's real, man. Like I really didn't realize that like nobody's gonna like save us. Like we have to like you really have to save yourself until like really like towards the end of like my senior year. You know,
Mm,
like as I was growing as a person and getting ready to graduate, I was just thinking about I started thinking about like people need help and this and that, like what's gonna make the world a better place and this and that. But it's like the best thing you can do is just work on yourself. You know, and it's like that's not nobody else's responsibility either. And it's like people have their own lives to live too, you know?
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, it's to speak to that point, it's like Biggie said, you can't change the world till you change yourself. And I think it just speaks to the adage is when they say like, if the plane is going down, you got to take the oxygen mask and put it on yourself before you help your child, even if your child is sitting next to you, because again, you as the adult, like you have more sensibility, like you have, the know-how to be able to operate under pressure and to be able to take directions, and maybe you got more stamina, and in turn, you got to go ahead and become the life source of you and your child so that you can help both people out. And I think a lot of times as young adults, we may, we can become reluctant to not be super selfish or to feel like we need to answer everything that is thrown our way. And, as we get older, you begin to realize that, life is really short, and time is very limited, and 24 hours in a day just doesn't seem like enough as you start having all these different variables coming into your life. So certain things are going to have to wait, certain people are going to have to wait, and you gotta be okay with taking care of home first before you decide to go out and help other things or other people with their obligations.
Yeah, man, that's very true. And the thing you said about time being so limited, I really didn't realize that until Kobe died last year. You know,
Right.
that's something that hit home. It wasn't because like oh like me and Kobe was best friends or anything like that. It's just the fact that you never know when. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, man. God's timing is God's timing, man. I think Kobe definitely shook up the world. And when you look at, someone who you've kind of viewed as potentially immortal, especially coming from an athletic background, it just kind of puts you in this headspace of like, Kobe. Like, what you mean Kobe died? Like
Yeah.
Kobe ain't died. So yeah, man, life is short, but life is precious, man. So you got to try to squeeze out every drop that you can.
Yeah, that's very true, man. So, what are some life lessons you've learned since you've graduated college?
Um, since I've graduated college, uh, I think the first lesson is probably just about networking.
Mm,
Um, every job that I've had post college has come from me knowing somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that was able to put me in a room, to have that conversation and land my next role. My first job as a commercial real estate broker had a very long lineage. Like I went to U of I. There was a real estate kind of student organization, and I got an invite one day to go get free pizza. And like as a college student, like you're not turning down
yeah,
free food. like at
that's very
all.
true. That's very
At,
true.
at, at all. Like my homie hit me up like, yo, I know you mentioned, you were vaguely interested in real estate. They got this real estate org, they've got this like intro meeting tonight and they got free pizza. I'm like, bro, say less. Like free pizza, count me in, I'm there. Um, I show up to the meeting and they're like voting for like the head of marketing for the group and the next president of the group because they've got all these kids they're about to graduate. And
Mhm.
I ended up like sitting on the board of this group after
Wow.
me just deciding to go and get free pizza.
Wow.
And they brought all these different real estate professionals down to U of I who own these corporations in the Chicagoland area. And we were able to break bread with them on a weekly basis, go out to eat with them. All this while we were still in college. So once I graduated, I just had this Rolodex of like these real estate professionals in the Chicagoland area. And all I had to do was make a couple phone calls to land my first job.
Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. Because I remember like my godmother before I even went to college, before I went off to school and stuff, she told me like this college experience is gonna be what you make it. You know, like either like, you can have a great time or like you can have like the worst time of your life, but it's all up to you. Like you have to go out there, you got to put yourself out there like that. You know.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's your college teammate or shoot, the person you cheated off to pass that class and test, like pass that test in class, like somebody in that lineage of conversation that you had, drinks you share, parties that you went to, somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who can do something impactful to help you get to that next step in your career, post college.
Man, that is very true. And since we like talking about like you was talking about UOI, man, I'm not gonna like the college experience. I feel like that's something everybody should at least be able to experience. You know, like but I know at the same time like college isn't for everybody. But I feel like if you don't know yourself and you're still looking for yourself, I feel like that could be a great place to do so. You know, without kind of harming yourself in a way. You know, depending on where you're from. You
Mhm.
know, because I know a lot of people that live around their house, like they didn't go off to school, but they were still searching for themselves. But now they got themselves in some tough situations that probably could have been avoided if they probably went off to a school somewhere where you have time to just be learning like this. You see so many outside perspectives that you aren't used to, you know.
Mhm.
And it's like you're kind of on your own for the first time, so you have no choice but to. All right, I gotta do what I gotta do to survive, you know.
Yeah, no, it's definitely real. I think the seed for that all starts with curiosity. Because I mean, again, like you said, college is definitely not for everybody. And when I speak to young kids in high school and I talk about college, or I speak to my nephews and my nieces who, are almost college aged, um, I say, look, I strongly encourage college, but I definitely don't strongly encourage paying for it. Like by no
Yeah,
means.
that's real. That's real. That's real.
By no means. Like go get that education. But write them essays because it's a million essays out there. They give essays. They give scholarships for people who are left-handed. They give scholarships for people who got dogs, who got I don't know who right-handed. Like again, it's literally a scholarship out there for everything. So I think, but rather it's the college experience, rather it's going off and studying abroad for a year, or shoot, just spending time in another city, deciding to pick up and move to another city. I think you know having that level of freedom and that level of space to go off and make your own decisions, I think that all attributes to your growth as as a young adult and a young professional. So I definitely encourage people to leave their hometown just so they can figure out exactly who they are, what they like, and how they really want to move when it's all said and done.
Man, that is very true. Because when I went out to school, like I was so set off on like, oh, things have to be done this one way. But then
Mhm.
when I was introduced to new things, I was like, oh, that way is a little bit more efficient. Like it's a more efficient way to do things, you know. And then
Right.
just to be able to like how you said, like you travel the world, you get to see different things. Just seeing like the different cultures, like the international students that come over from wherever country they're from, you know. Like it was just amazing to have those type of conversations with them just to see like, oh wow, life is what I think it is. There's a little bit more to it, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. It's funny you say that, speaking to the dialogue of the international students, because I know at U of I, the student body is like 40, 50,000 people. And as far as their student organizations, I want to say they probably had at least 300 plus organizations. And I knew I couldn't actively spend time in each organization, but I just kind of walked around campus and I just put my curiosity to work. Like I was the only Black person that signed up for the Chinese organization. Like I don't speak
Wow.
Chinese. Like I didn't have like a bunch of Chinese friends, but hey, like, I knew in my mind that, the Chinese economy was the front runners of the world. Like, in China, they build skyscrapers in like less than 30 days. Where in Chicago, when you look at like infrastructure projects, they'll be working on a Dan Ryan for 25 years. So, so man, I'm like, man, there's something out there that that I don't. So like, if we can sit down and we can break bread, rather it's over free pizza or rather it's just over, a random conversation because we get stuck in the same economics class. Like I knew that there was a world out there that was bigger than me, and the only way I was going to be able to explore it was to be able to sit down at the table with these different people from different backgrounds.
Man, that's amazing. Where did that seed of to explore your curiosity? Where did that come from? Like, what made you so brave to explore that too?
Uh, I mean, I don't know if I have a direct source to attribute it to. It honestly might have indirectly got passed down to me from my pops because he was in the Navy. So he went to all these various countries, with the Navy, being on different ships, having different, 6-month trips to this country or, 90 days in this country, obviously just because, when the Navy wants to send you somewhere, that's where they're going to send you. So I think it might have just got passively handed down to me where I just had this high level curiosity of all these different cultures and all these different places. And, now that I'm in a space in my adult life where I can go and see and do these things and, without limitations, I'm taking full advantage and making sure I go do that.
Wow. Wow, Uncle Fred. But see, that's dope, man. Because I know, I know when I was younger, I always had these thoughts like, oh, like it would be cool, like seeing someone on TV and this and that. But I feel like I probably didn't really gain that courage till I got into high school. I'm just like, towards like I said, like my junior, senior years, like sure, like yeah, because I know, I heard Charlemagne the God, he said this quote one time. I think I was like listening to his podcast or interview or something he was doing, and he said it's better to be a fool for 10 seconds than for a lifetime.
Oh,
You know,
facts.
so
Facts.
so I, Mhm.
That's definitely a bar. That's definitely a bar, man. Because so I can speak to that, man. Because I mean, pride can definitely be a silent killer,
Mhm.
but it can only be a silent killer for so long, man. So they say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're definitely in the wrong room. So
Mm.
you at all times you got to evolve. You got to be willing to be, the person who don't know stuff. You got to be the person who's okay with when you're looking a little stupid.
Mhm.
Just get past it so you get on to the next thing.
Yeah, man, that's very true. And it's like after I heard that, I just started asking like why more. You know, like I remember like another interview he did with Larry King, and he asked Larry King, "What's like the most like you got any advice for journalists and this and that? What's the best question to ask?" He said, "Never be scared to ask why. Just ask why." And I was like, "Wow, some just that simple." And it's like when you ask that, just simply by asking why, you can break down things to a fundamental level and see how things really operate and work.
That's very true. That's very true. Because I mean, you gotta think about it. When you an infant, and or maybe you're a toddler, and your parents tell you something. They say, "But why? But why? But why? But why?" I mean, I'm in sales now. I work in digital advertising for my job, and I mean, they teach us the same thing because people are willing to tell themselves and willing to, peel back another layer of the onion when you continue to ask why. Because, when you're first interacting with someone and you have that first level of dialogue or that first level of question, they'll give you that first thing that comes to the top of their mind.
Hmm.
But then you ask why again, and all of a sudden there's a second thing. You ask why again, all of a sudden there's a third thing. And all of a sudden they're rambling and they're just talking and talking and talking. And they had no intention of spilling all these beans. And now you just here soaking up the knowledge because all you ask is one simple question. Why?
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's very true. And it's like people, like I really believe people enjoy like talking about themselves, and it's just the best thing. You just gotta ask the right question to get them talking, get them going, to get it started. You know,
mhm.
because it's just like I've had like just like thinking back, like, I've had some pretty amazing random conversations with people. You know, like whether it's like just seeing somebody at the airport or seeing like a couple at the airport, asking, oh, like how long you guys been together? And then we just started talking about, they start telling me and this and that, what they've been doing like throughout their life, what they're doing now. And it's like, wow, I think people are really capable of doing things. You just have to ask it, you know?
Yeah, the power of curiosity.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes I feel like America can be a little divisive at times, but it's like at the root of things, I feel that people really want to be connected. It's just the miscommunication and lack of understanding that oftentimes get in their way of something so simple.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what got you into like digital advertising?
Um, I think digital advertising really became kind of the next step in my career. As soon as I graduated college, while I was working in real estate, I had signed a 5-year modeling contract. So I was doing fashion campaigns for like Nike, Macy's,
Man.
Adidas, Foot Locker, you name it. And I spent a lot of time on sets with creative directors and, in the Nike showrooms, watching them pitch products for the up and coming seasons.
Mhm.
So it started to put my mind in the space of marketing things digitally because I had an agent and my agent was like, hey, you got to work on your followers. We got to make sure that you're engaging people. You got to make sure that people are like your content because, if one of these, heads of these marketing departments says that they want to book you for a shoot or for a campaign, they're going to go to your digital media and they're going to see, how you're representing yourself in the market. So, I went from focusing on my own content to figuring out how can I do this for small businesses? How can I do this for big
Mhm.
businesses? And it led me to the corporate world, where my first job for post modeling, I worked for Yelp for three and a
Okay.
half years. And I was able to work with all these various different types of businesses because Yelp is the Rolodex for businesses. I mean,
Mhm.
um, they've got doctors, they've got lawyers, they've got people who own horse farms, all type of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So being able to be exposed to how different companies run and how they go about marketing themselves and marketing their businesses, it really helped open up my mind to a whole new world
Mhm.
that I currently exist in. Being in the tech space now, I just started working for LinkedIn, which is
Okay.
a subsidiary company of Microsoft. There's a
Mhm.
whole nother layer in this world that I'm working in, which is called Afrotech. So
Wow.
Afrotech is all the Black and African Americans that are in the tech industry, and there's
Mhm.
just so many opportunities right now that are just being created for African Americans who decide that they want to pursue a career in tech. So, I'm truly grateful for the seed that was planted from a digital marketing standpoint with
Mhm.
my time in the modeling world, and now to be able to be in the corporate space and to reach back out to young professionals and pay it forward, man, it's definitely been a blessing.
Man, that's amazing. Wow. That's really dope, man. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the people before we leave, man?
Um, let's see. I guess my my part in dialogue is, if financial literacy is something that you currently struggle with, don't be ashamed to ask. Feel free to DM me. I love, helping people understand how they can plant seeds for their financial future. And you're never too young to start. I mean, I've got friends and family that are as young as 13, 14 years old that are in the stock market and actively making moves on a day-to-day basis. And I've got people who got exposed to the stock market for the first time in their 60s. So, rather, it's stocks, rather it's, digital marketing, rather it's, going out and learning about real estate. Just make sure that that job that's paying you isn't your only source of income, and figure out however you have to figure out a way to build your future actively, and plant some seeds for some trees that you can eat from, months and years from now.
Man, that's dope. Let everybody know where they can find you at, man.
Social media, you can find me at _Chicago Josh. I'm pretty sure my Twitter is the same. I'm more active on Instagram than any other platform. So yeah, shoot me a follow. I'll follow back. Shoot me a DM. I'll message back. If you're looking to enter the corporate space and you're a young professional and you have some questions about that, I'm glad to help you out. If I can help you out directly, I'm glad to open up my network to you. So, we can get you some guidance on that as well. But yeah, I'm an open book. So just holler at me.
All right, man. That's it from checking in with Brando, man. I like thank you for checking in with me, my guy. I thank you for giving us your time and giving us your wisdom. Have a nice one, my guy.
All right, you too, cuz. Love.
All right, got you. Love you too, man.
All right.